Morning, folks. How are you? It's it's Wednesday morning. It's about 7 o'clock. Had a little fish last night. Didn't fish for long. Just fished over the high water. Knew I had 2 hours to wait before I hit a fish, so I was tired. I've been fishing for 2 weeks, so I went on home. I was fishing the estuary. Now, what I will say is this: there is a noticeable lack of life about the place. My feeling is that the bait balls are offshore. When they do come ashore, the bass are getting so stuffed that they're becoming incredibly hard to catch. So you just have to be lucky and get on them while they're feeding. Now, I've been lucky. Over the last tide, I had, what had I? Well, I had one exceptional night's fishing with 20 fish, 10 of them over 65. And the rest was kind of patchy. I didn't have anything else I would describe as good fishing, really. Now, I wasn't estuary fishing, in fairness. I would have gone estuary fishing, but my compadre was up for the beach. He figured we'd found some fish, and he fished on, and in fairness, he got a nice fish. So, fair play to him, and he did very well. Sorry now, as usual, at this hour of the morning, I'm lowering the go-go juice into myself. I have a funeral and stuff to get to this morning. My good friend Peter Kelly, his dad passed away in Tramore there. A great man by all accounts, so condolences, Peter. I wish you well. You've been a great friend to me, and I'll never forget what you did for me. So mind yourself, and I'll see you this morning. Back to the business of estuary fishing. Well, thank God we're almost in August anyway, because June and July stank to hell. The fish were there, they were hard to catch, they were fussy. They were never really playing ball. You know, there's fellas putting up catches. Oh, I got 50 bass. Yeah, they were all 50s. Like, you know, grand, but they're 50 centimetre fish. Like, where are our 60s and our 65s and, 70s? And we see the odd 75, maybe a bit bigger, but where are the lumps gone? Like, hopefully, I really hope that they're still there. I think they are. As I say, we here in Waterford, and this is why I get so upset with fellas who aren't careful with their photography. We have gill netters and spear fishermen to contend with. So there's a couple of things I'm going to do. One is I'm going to do a beginner series. So that means if you book me for a day and you're a total novice, I will have a rod, a reel, and boxes of lures there for you to use and go through. You're going to need to supply your own waders. Lads, I can't afford to buy 20 sets of waders in different sizes and all the sets of boots and everything else. I just couldn't. I'd bankrupt myself. As it is, I've been in bed with long COVID for, over 2 years, and all of my money is now sitting in the bank account of the Irish consultants who charged me €450 an hour. So I hope they sleep well at night. What's happened to this country is an absolute disgrace, but that's a conversation for another day. We'll stick to the fishing this morning. So what do I do in an estuary? Well, it depends on the time of year. But coming into the time of year we're coming into, the weed is going to start to die off, right? Which is going to make the bottom fishable. And once the bottom is fishable, we can really get at those fish, right? So you have two things to decide first off. Am I going to fish it on the ebb, or am I going to fish it on the flood? Now, if it's me, I like to fish the ebb. Why? Well, it's a guess, but it's an educated guess, right? It's a guess based on 25 years of experience of fishing estuaries. I find that on the ebb, fish are kind of sauntering out. They're taking their time. They've been up the estuary. They've been looking for food. They've either been successful or unsuccessful. Sorry for jumping around now. I'm just trying to get myself organised here, and I want to get this done this morning because of a funeral to get to. Life must go on, in the immortal words of Eddie Mercury. So on the ebb, my sense of the fish is that they've been up the estuary, they've been in the back, they've been wherever they go, right? They're creatures of habit. So each fish will have its own patch. It's gone in, hunted around, got what it's got. And then as the tide turns and it begins to ebb, that fish will start to think about pushing out, right? Now some push out straight away, right? That's why you get these blitzes, especially in September. If you're at the point of an estuary, you'll get a blitz where you'll get like 4 and 5 pound fish to beat the band, right? You see them boiling on the surface. You're chucking, it doesn't matter what surface lure you put in there, they'll take it, right? But they're not the fish we're after. We're after their cousins and their mammies and daddies, right? We're after the 65s to the 75s, right? So where are they? Well, the question is, they're a bit further back, I think, usually. Some of them come out early, but very few. So they'll hang on corners, they'll hang in weed beds, they'll hang in the riffles. If there's riffles over a sandbar, they'll hang in those. But generally they'll be hanging somewhere waiting to feed. You know, and feeding looks like popping out, smashing a ball of sand eel or whatever, and then popping back in, right? So one of the most effective ways, and you know, without being big-headed, I'm definitely going to take credit for developing this method of fishing, is to dribble a soft plastic along the bottom, right? And it's just to tip it along, right? Rod tip up, cast up the current, right? Let the weight hit the bottom, and then you'll feel it just bouncing along. It's a lovely way to fish because you're constantly, you know, with every tip of the rod, right? You're like, oh Jesus, this is going to be the one, right? This is going to be the take. So here's one of the lures I use, right? That's the Haze Dong from Megabass, and it's on a 7 gram batchy head, right? I also use the same head. Now this is a 5 gram version of it. On the X layer, a lure that was as good as the day it came out, right? I used the same head on the small spindle worm, right? Another lure from Megabass. It's no accident that you'll see a lot of Megabass in my boxes, right? Buying a far and long shot, the best soft plastics company in the world, or certainly one of them. The fish black minnow, except that it's the resin head one, right? It's the 6 gram. So that means it doesn't just sink and bang along the bottom. It kind of wafts, right? It sinks very, very slowly, and it wafts around, it wobbles, and you know, and it really looks like a dying fish. I have caught innumerable fish on that lure, right? Whatever it is about it, it just floats and wobbles. I've cast it on surf beaches into the first table. I've waded out, you know, with the small rod, cast it into the first table and let it wash around. And next thing it washes back in tight to the shore, and dung, 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 dung. You know, the fish are in a foot of water. They're sitting there. So that's a great lure. Talking about lures wouldn't be complete without talking about Michael down in Evo Bass, right? So there's the sabre. I like to fish the sabre on a weighted hook, right? I particularly like to fish it on a point where I have a bit of current. I'll cast it up the current, I'll let it sink, and I'll just retrieve it nice and slowly through the gutter or whatever. And any bass that's in there passing by is certainly at the very least going to have a look. If not, it's going to snaffle it, right? Now, my favourite soft plastic of all time is the Do Life stick. Why is this my favourite soft plastic? Sorry, I have a phone going off, or my dad's alarm or something, you know. Jesus, where has he put it? Sorry. I don't mean it to be funny now. My dad is stone deaf. What do you think of the chances of him hearing that? I'd say they're fairly slim. God love him. He's a great man. But anyway, so this bad boy here has an incredible action. I mean, it just fishes beautifully. Now you've got to get it on the right hook. That's a 3/0 owner twist lock, right? On a straight retrieve, that lure will just swim back, right? You can dead stick it and give it a little twitch, right? You can do all sorts of stuff with it. Come and fish with me and I'll show you how to do it properly. Slightly bigger version, right? You'll notice I've added my own lead, right? And I've done what I call tail weighting, right? So I concentrate the lead towards the back of the hook. This does two things. One, it casts the lure further because the weight is concentrated, right? It's physics, weight is concentrated where you want the centrifugal force. And two, it sinks backwards, right? Now this is a huge thing in Japan at the minute. Always keep an eye on what the Japanese anglers are doing. By far the best anglers in the world. Why Jesus do they think about it? So, that lure there will not be without it. Okay. Now, here's the text poser with the new Estuary. I really like it. I like the thinness of the tail, right? You can see there it's got a little rib. Alright, that tail just wiggles, and I mean that tail thumps for such a small little tail. From behind, if you look at it from behind, a bass coming up on the back of that, it could be anything, right? It could be anything from a smelt, you know, to a big sand eel, right? These are an experiment of mine. They're Savage gear. They're the little ribbed fellas, right? You can see. All right, I really like them for the size. Give you an idea of the size. Right, they're much smaller, but they're fat enough and chunky enough to get out there. Again, on a 7-gram batchy head. So let me just move the phone down and show you what's going to happen. Right. Will the phone move right down? Yes, it will. That's going to happen. It's going to sit up and do that, right? That is going to draw the attention of the fish, right? And that's what it's all about. It's about drawing their attention. It's like saying, hey, I'm over here, come and have a look at me, right? Again, that Spanish company really like the look of that lure. I mean, it's just a phenomenal sand eel competition, imitation. It's on an owner, nose weighted hook, offset, not going to be a problem with weed, right? I've bought it to fishing current. So, I mean, strong current, I'm going to chuck it up the current and drag it up. I'm going to get it drift down, wobble, drift, wobble, right? Fishing on a straight retrieve, do all sorts with it. I think that's going to absolutely slay fish this autumn, right? Now, no lure collection would be complete without the giant X layer. All right. I was on a mark one morning, and you can call it coincidence, you can call it whatever you like. I saw one man take 3 double-figure fish on one of my marks. because he was the only man who had these, right? I had the 4.5-inch version. I muzzled fish, right? But I muzzled 50s, late 50s, mid 60s, right? He had 3 doubles, right? And it was in October, so the doubles were focused on the lance. That right there is the best lance imitation you can buy, by a long shot. Now, here we are. The OSP Duo stick, 6-inch, weighted, right? Just so versatile. I can cast it into the weeds, where I've often taken lovely fish. I can cast it into the current and just give it a little tip. I can cast it into the current and do nothing with it. Just let it dead stick, keep a U in the line. When the U tightens, I strike, right? Sometimes the lure gets pulled out of the water and nearly hits me in the face. That's where I wear sunglasses. That's one of the reasons. Other times, I bang into a really nice, good fish. So that's it on my soft plastics, lads. There's not much else there I want to show you. I have bags and bags of the stuff, ranges of colours. I have loads of stuff for sale. Not that it's useless, just that I have too much. I won't get through it all. I'm going to start doing starter packs. So if you're getting started fishing, give me a shout and I will put together a box with you, for you, with what I believe you need to get you started. A couple of shallow divers, a couple of top waters, right, that will catch, some plastics, some hooks, some other bits and bobs, and we'll do it all at a good price. Here's a lure I'm really excited about. Okay. A lure I've caught a lot of fish on. The IMA salt skimmer. It's the silent version, right? I'm using it for clear days, clear water. It's just going to scoot along, right? Now I know it's mackerel pattern. I really don't. I just don't go in for that, right? Okay, that catches anglers, not fish, right? It might flash a little bit. Yeah, when it sits down, it's going to sit like so far. It'll look nice, it'll wobble, right? But it could also be pink, could be gold, could be anything that catches a bit of light, right? And finally, I'm going to show you a plastic lure that has totally gone out of fashion. It disappeared. Now it's awkward, yeah, granted, you have to keep them separate and everything. But the Haze Dong Magnum, right? Look at that thing. That looks like just about every goby or whatever that lives inside in a crevice on a reef. I just will not go anywhere without them, right? Now the thing about this style of fishing is you absolutely have to have the right rod to fish it. If you're fishing a 12 to 42 gram rod and you're trying to trot light plastics down an estuary, you can pretty much forget it. So there were 2 more lures. I think it's 2. Oh no, actually 3 that I really wanted to show you in terms of estuary fishing. One is hard lures, right? They seem to have gone out of fashion, right? But fashion is just fashion. It doesn't mean that things are right or that they work or don't work, right? There are days when fish will take nothing but a hard lure, right? Charles Nelson, who fishes with me, will testament to that. He has persevered with his needles while I have been banging 70s out of it on the IMA Nabron or something that fishes a bit shallower, like this Komomo, right? Fishes in the top couple of inches. Can almost be fished like a surface lure. Fish see it, they just come up and they absolutely hammer it. You'll notice that has orange on the belly. I like orange and I love red, right? because I think going over those kelp beds, it catches their attention, right? And at the end of the day, it's all about catching their attention because they're just sitting there, right? The other thing I won't go to the estuary without is a needle. I just will not, right? I like to carry 4 or 5 of these at least, right? What do I do with them? I cast them up the current, I let them sink down, and I trot them along the run, along the bottom, right? Much like fly fishing, if you've ever fly fished for trout, right, wet fly fished, you'll know that it's on the straighten, right, that the fish tend to hit, right? Bass fishing is no different, which means they're following it along, it straightens out, it changes the action, and they go out and out with chance, and woof, they have it. We've had some absolutely amazing sport. Not so much on the white one, more on the two tones, the pink and white in particular, the chartreuse and white, really great. The range of weight is kind of 16, 18, 20, 22. And then I'm going to talk to you about this little guy from Raid Fishing, right? You see he's got a lovely weed guard, right? So I can pull him through that bubble rack without any worries. He's got an added attraction little spinner blade. For the size of the lure, look at the size of the tail. So it is making some thump, right? That's going to get the job done, right? It's about the right size, okay? I'm a great believer in matching the size of whatever it is they're fishing. I remember years ago reading, while I was in boarding school, you know, we got an hour to ourselves in the evening, and I wasn't a particularly happy child. Not going to go into that, but I wasn't. And we got an hour to ourselves, and I used to be excited to be able to go and get this book, Fishing in Ireland by Des Brennan. And I would sit there reading it, fantasising about, Jesus, I wonder, will someone bring me to that beach and I'll be able to catch big bass out of the waves, and, you know, that'd be fantastic. He was talking about the Black Strand in Kerry, and, you know, in his writing you could feel the excitement and the passion that he had for sea angling in Ireland, like, you know. And today I can say, as a 51-year-old man, I share that passion. Like, I just think we have wonderful coast, we have beautiful fish. You know, I don't think we've promoted it as well as we could have, but I'm about to change that. You know, I'm going to build. Anyone who knows me will know that when I do things, I go hammer and tongs. I don't go fishing for a day. I go fishing for weeks. You know, you can see I look tired. I am tired. I've been pulling late night shifts. I've been hauling ass up and down the coast, looking for those silver ladies. But we found them. And Charles is my friend. And I always put in the extra effort when he's over, because I know how much it means to him to come to Ireland. He's a total pleasure to fish with. He's a very knowledgeable guy. We are polar opposites, which is kind of fun, because he wants to do one thing and I want to do another. You know, he could catch 20 fish and I could catch none, and I'll still have a great night, you know, because I'll just be delighted for him, right? And the other way around, there's never any animosity or competition or any of that crack that I just can't bear, because it's not for me, right? I don't want to be the best at anything. I just want to do what I want to do. I want to be on the coast. I want to hear the waves. I want to see the curlews. I want to listen to the bird call. And most of all, I want to cast for those silver ladies, you know. So that's it for this morning. That's estuary fishing, either 2 or 3 or 2, I think. There's lots more to talk about, right? Particularly in terms of watercraft. My advice is to you is to book a day. You know, it's one thing listening to me on YouTube. It's another thing having me standing beside you, going through your tackle box saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes, yes. And you don't need to spend big money. You don't. That's a fabrication on part of the fishing industry, right? Why do they think? Why do you think they make soft lures that fall apart after two fish? You think they can't make a lure that lasts longer? Of course they can. They're making it so that it does fall apart. So you got to go back and buy more, right? Bit of an announcement. So as I said to you, the business is up and running. I'm totally registered. I'm totally above board. The website is going to be launched really soon. www.seafishingireland.com. I was lucky. I bought a great domain. It's going to give me a good chance for Google Analytics and all of that. I mean, what's the first thing you type in when you want to go somewhere? Like sea fishing Portugal, right? Bass fishing Portugal, bass fishing Ireland, right? So I was lucky. That domain was still available. To celebrate the launch of the website, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a picture of a fish that I caught, and I want to know what lure it was caught on and what length it is. Now, I don't expect people to be exact, but he who is closest or she who is closest will be the winner. In fact, we'll do that the other way around. She who is closest or he who is closest will be the winner. And the prize will be a day's fishing with me. And if by chance I'm registered with Favourite by then and they've sent me the rods that I'm going to order, I'll throw in a rod on top for your trouble. I'll throw you in an estuary rod because it's estuary fishing we'll be doing from now on. We're going chasing those big girls. So tight lines, everybody. I'm off to Pembroke tomorrow. I can't wait. I was on the coast the other night and I bumped into Cornish John, I'm going to call him. A lovely guy. I would say John is, I don't want to insult John, he's definitely in his late 50s anyway. And he's still getting it done. He's in full wetsuit gear. He's got his wading stick. He's got his rods. He's been out fishing in Portugal every winter. Clearly knows what he's doing. Sorry I couldn't bring you, John. It's my bread and butter. I would have loved to have fished with you, but I can't reveal my marks for free. I just can't, you know. It's unfortunate. It's the downside of being a bass fishing guide. On a normal night I would have said, John, jump in, boy, no problem. But I look forward to hearing from you and thanks for your call. As I say, keep the questions coming, keep everything coming. I'll do my best to answer to everybody. If I don't answer you, it means I missed your message or whatever. I'm not being rude. I literally have loads and loads of messages to get through. Everybody has questions, right? Like, it's not huge money, guys. Like, you know, look, you have to understand, I don't get to do this every day, right? So what I charge for a day's fishing has to probably cover me for 3 days of living. So think about that. I'm not going to be a millionaire, right? I'm doing this for passion, right? The real truth of why I'm doing this is I'm a PhD. I could go off back into academics and get a cushy job and work in an office and get a lot of money. I'm not going to get into it, but a lot of money to do what I do, right? I'm published in Cambridge and Oxford and all these other places, right? You know, it's not like I won't get a job. I will, right? But I lay in bed with the life draining out of my body. And I thought, no, life is short. Life is for living. Go and do what you love, right? And I love this, right? And it just so happens I get as much pleasure from watching somebody catch a fish as I do from catching one myself. That's just the way I'm built. Some fellas aren't built that way, other fellas are. I'm built that way, right? Big shout out to Charlie the angler. I just love Charlie. I think he's fantastic. Have you seen this little guy and what he's doing? He's thumping fish out of it, right? I can't wait to get him set up. Charlie, we're coming for you. The reel is getting serviced. The new rod is on the way. The lures. The same for Beneath the Waves Fishing. That chap has been out there YouTubing and doing all this stuff. I'm delighted he won. I've got a lovely bag of really expensive coffee for him. I've got a rod. I've got some lures, you know, well done. So that's it for this morning, folks. I want to thank you all for your lovely messages, support about the YouTube channel and everything else. I'm going to keep going, right? As the weather changes, I'm going to talk about how we've been fishing, what we've been catching, what we've been using, right? I'm not going to give you pin locations of where I've been catching them. The fun is you go find them yourself, right? If you want me to come up on your ground and have a look at it and fish it with you, when I fish it with you, I won't fish, right? Rule number one when you're guiding is don't fish, right? Guide. I'm too busy, right? Looking after you to be casting a lure for fish, right? I'm not there to fish, I'm there to work, right? My job is to teach you what I do. Now, I'm not saying what I do is better than the next man, right? All I can tell you is that I've caught a hell of a lot of big fish, right? So I'm doing something right, you know? And I think genuinely, I think that's just, I've been thinking about it, right? I was talking to a local, very accomplished angler, Clive Power, who I have great respect for. And Clive has been at the forefront of fishing. I think Clive broke ground that he never actually got credit for, right? You know, there was stuff went out there that guys now accept as being the methods to fish for bass. And Clive was one of the guys who came up with that. And his buddy Eric as well, another fantastic fisherman. I mean, Eric was catching fish out of the bubbleweed, you know, 2 foot out at the mouth of an estuary, when a lot of fellas didn't even know that that's where they were, right? Eric was up there hammering away. Now, I knew where he was because I knew the background straight away, but I didn't know Eric very well. So big shout out to you, Eric. I hope you're well, man. I was talking to Clive. I understand you're busy. I'd love to get out and have a cast with you boys. So that's it, lads. Tight lines. Keep her going. Keep her moving. Whether we're catching her or not, we're fishing, right? Yeah, and that's everything. I have a funeral to get to this morning. A good friend of mine's father passed away day before yesterday. And I want to get suited and booted and show up, right? That's what life is about, show face. So that's it for today. Wish me luck in Pembrokeshire. I will post from the ferry. I'm excited. I'm going to bring a ridiculous amount of lures. I'm going to bring a ridiculous amount of rods and reels and lines and fluoro and ridiculous amount of everything. And probably 2 t-shirts and a pair of jeans. Usual fisherman stuff, right? I mean, God only knows what the fella in customs is going to think is, what the fuck is this guy up to? But anyway, it wouldn't be the first time I had trouble at customs. So, I wish everybody well. As I say, tight lines, keep the messages coming. Thanks again for your support. It means the world. It really does. As I say, I was pretty beat down after COVID. But we're on the up. And life wouldn't be complete without showing you the Chief Financial Officer. Oh, can you see him? Hang on now. Oh, you can see him there. He's had his breakfast. He's having a rest. The accounts are killing him, he said. A lot of money coming in, he said. There's a lot taking him a long time. So, enjoy your day. Enjoy your bit of fishing. And stay in touch, everybody. Good luck.